I spotted one way up on the hillside.
Oh my goodness.
Hi everybody. Everybody asks how I got into the photography. Well, I actually got into photography because of elk hunting in Colorado. In 2020 we decided when we were out west we were going to be there for 3-4 months, and I decided that I wanted to do one more elk hunt. Well, the spot that I hunt in Colorado is Route National Forest at Gill Reservoir. I normally wouldn't tell people where I'm hunting at. It's kind of my honey hole. I am a public land hunter. I love hunting public land. It's a lot of work, but it's very satisfying when you are successful. This place I hunted 7 years in a row, and I killed elk and mule deer every year. Unfortunately, this year mule deer was by draw, and I didn't put in for the draw because I didn't know whether I was going to be able to elk hunt or not. But as it worked out, we were able to go. We got there the 1st of June to check it out. The paths had just opened back up. There was nobody around. So we hiked in, we stayed and camped for a few days, hiked in, I did a little fly fishing at Gill Reservoir. And every day that we went in, we saw elk, which I was excited about it because I was like, okay, it hadn't changed that much since it had been so long since I hunted up there.
Okay, we're fixing to head into my elk hunting spot. We're in outside of Hayden, Colorado. This is where we're going to be spending a month elk hunting. We got about an hour walk in to Gill Reservoir. Walking in yesterday, we did see one big cow elk. A lot of sign. I'm going to do some scouting. It's this is June 2nd. Elk season doesn't start till September. I think it's the 3rd. So we're going to be back over here a couple days early. Right now, we're going to be hiking in and scouting, and I'm going to do a little bit of fly fishing while I'm there on the reservoir. All set to go. If I see elk, we're going to video on the way in. So, all right, out, heading to hike. Looking in, and there's a cow elk standing in the road. I'm going to ease up on it. There it goes.
Got up there, got through fly fishing a little bit, and I was going to go way back into the base of the mountain where my honey hole was. Got in there, and unfortunately I found a lock-on tree stand in a tree right where I'd killed several bulls and a cow.
All right, I am way back in here, a couple miles in. Come over, trying to find my honey hole. I've killed 2 bulls and a cow elk over here in the past. Thought maybe I'd have it to myself, but lo and behold, that's what I see. Lock-on tree stand. I mean, he's got screw-in tree steps. I don't know. They look fairly fresh, I don't know. But this is actually the exact spot I killed 2 bulls at. Well, such is life. Have to move on. I'm out.
Well, our photo trip was phenomenal. We covered a lot of different states, had a very good time, got some phenomenal film, video, and pictures. Well, I was excited about elk hunting, so we loaded up and we were going to go do some scouting a week before the season, so I had to jump on things. It kind of turned into a disaster. Saying that, we still had a great time. You know, I saw a lot of wildlife, mule deer, bear, a little bit of everything, some moose that I called in. So all in all, it was a good trip. But on the way there, we stopped at a grocery store in Steamboat Springs to get groceries. We come back out and we had gas cans for gas for our generator on the bumper of our truck camper. We get out there, somebody had cut the straps and stolen all of our gas cans. We had 5 gas cans full of gas. So that was several $100s that we were out of. So we ended up having to go buy gas cans and fill up with gas. We get to where we're going to be archery hunting at Dunkley Pass, and when we pull in, we're the only people there. Of course, we're there a week before the season, and there are sheep and sheep herders all over the place. I mean, the national forest was just loaded with sheep. The sheepdogs, the sheep herders were on horses, and they're traveling all up in the national forest. Pretty much a letdown because elk and sheep do not get along. So as I'm going in to do my scouting pre-season, we had purchased a tree stand out there, and I was going to sit over a watering hole and see if I could see any elk movement. I climb up in a tree in my tree stand, and lo and behold, first morning, here comes a truck pulling in that had a bunch of dogs in the back. They're not supposed to be in the national forest. It's horseback and foot traffic only, but here comes this truck driving in. And he's got 5 or 6 dogs. He turns them loose, and they're chasing elk out of the national forest. So between the sheep getting ripped off, the guy coming in the truck, it was not looking good. I didn't see any elk pre-scouting. The guy come in the truck several days running dogs all through there. So it was not looking good. Then on top of that, got up one morning, I went in scouting. Julie heard some noise outside, and when she come out the next morning, somebody had stopped and ripped off our bow target. So not only did we get our gas ripped off, the very next morning somebody ripped off our target. And all this traveling we do for months and months and months, we have never had a theft problem, but for some reason those 2 days they got us. Well, I was trying to figure out why the guy was coming in with the dogs and running the elk out. There is private property down below the national forest, not within a few miles, that outfitters get paid to put on elk hunts down there. So I'm assuming it was from the outfitters. I don't know for sure about that, but they were definitely chasing elk out of the national forest. Another thing we had to contend with was there were fires all over Colorado and Wyoming, and a lot of the national forests were shut down. They were evacuated and wouldn't let people in. So I talked to a lot of people. One guy had put in for a hunt in Wyoming for, I think it was 5 or 6 years, and finally got drawn, and there was fires and they shut down his area that he got drawn for. So he and his boys came over to Dunkley Pass to do an elk hunt there. So the foot traffic that was in there, it was 3 times what it normally was. Unfortunately, I did not see one elk in the national forest, and nobody I talked to saw an elk. Apparently the elk were just run out of there, and there was a lot of people coming in, and it is a very big area, and not one elk hunter that I talked to saw an elk. So it was kind of a bust. You know, it's kind of funny, unfortunately, being morbid. Me and my wife had talked about where we wanted our ashes put, and I had told her that I wanted my ashes put up in Dunkley Pass, where I had been elk hunting for years and years and years, and how much I enjoyed it. And after that, I was telling her that, yeah, I don't know, with all these sheep in here walking all over the top of me, you know, if my ashes were there, I don't think that's where I want to be now. Well, another funny story is we were in Michigan visiting Julie's brother. Now, when I met Julie, her last name was Davis, so it didn't really click with me, but her maiden name is Dunkley. And Todd, Julie's brother, was talking about Dunkley Pass. He was saying, when we're in Colorado, if you would go by and get some pictures of Dunkley Pass, because he had researched it, and that's supposed to be relatives that actually had discovered the pass. And I was like, wow, you know, I didn't even think about it, but, you know, that's where Dunkley Pass is where I've been elk hunting at, and you know, I was like, never thought about it. But yeah, anyway, so we took a lot of pictures of Dunkley Pass and sent to our brother, which is kind of neat. So in this video, again, this is in Dunkley Pass. I set up a ground blind, a makeshift ground blind, put limbs and stuff under a tree where I was camouflaged real good. And I had a really, really good mule deer that still in velvet that walked up on me. I was videoing with my phone. We wasn't doing videos at that point other than a little bit of GoPro. But this mule deer walks right up. I think it's going to walk by me, and it walks right to my ground blind that I set up, and looks at me, and it literally, I could have reached out and touched it. It was so close. I was using an Ozonics, which is something I use when I'm archery hunting. It covers your scent, and the wind was actually blowing right to the mule deer, and it never smelled me. And it got so close that it looks at me, and it can't figure me out, and finally bounces off. But it starts feeding again within about 20 yards because it had no clue because I didn't move. But I actually had watched that mule deer for probably about 45 minutes before it got close enough and finally spotted me. Very cool video. Also, we had left for a few days to try to scout some other areas since it was not going good where we were at. And the spot we were hunting was outside of Steamboat Springs. I'm not even sure. We had a friend that told us about the spot. And he actually hunted with me, and we had backpacked way in. And I called in one spike elk, but I also called in a moose that I kept calling at it, and it got closer and closer and closer. And again, moose tags are by draw, and it's like $2,400 anyway for a moose tag, which I couldn't afford. So got some good footage with my phone on that one also. But it's kind of neat. Again, had a great time. I stalked up on a bunch of different mule deer. No elk though.
Steamboat Springs, Colorado, Rapid Air Pass. There he goes. I guess
If you guys would, I really would appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. It's Paul Winterman Outdoors. Thank you. So, somebody had cut our straps holding our gas cans on and ripped off all of our gas cans. We had 5 gas cans full of diesel. It wasn't full of diesel. Should I start all over? Yeah. So unfortunately, just keep doing it.